Hello, this is Julie Hudeman. I am the coordinator for Extension Strategic Initiatives. Welcome to DM Tips. Today we are taking a look at how to report external partners and grants and funding. We are going to be taking a look first of all at the basic concepts of how we report this, and then I will change screens and I'll walk you through digital measures for that. If you have questions, we'll take those at the end via chat, or if you wanted to unmute your line. Here we go, let's get started. First of all, we're going to talk about we're reporting in digital measures and we're focusing on one screen only. We're focusing on the learning event screen. So this is when you're reporting about your workshop or your presentation or your program. The idea with external partners and collaborators is that you document when you partner with those outside of Purdue Extension. So if you have an event coming up and you do some planning with the Farm Bureau, and together the Farm Bureau and Purdue Extension put on this particular event, you want to document that they were your external partners for this process. So whatever the organization is, you're going to identify that organization. We don't necessarily need the individual's name. We're looking for the organization, agency, corporation that they might be represented. You have the ability to put more than one collaborator. Some of you have some very complex events and lots of partners. You may not be able to put absolutely every partner in there, but probably pick the most important ones, or the ones that may be most involved. The second part of reporting your external partners is to help us identify them by a certain category. After about a year of collecting data, we were able to identify these specific categories of external partners. So we ask that you pick the category that most closely represents the agency that you're documenting. So if you maybe, for example, worked with the hospital, this is an example on the right side, you would choose the category of health for that. If you were working with the Greater Lafayette Community Foundation, you would pick Community Foundation. So we need you to pick the category that goes with that particular partner. So also on digital measures, you're going to be reporting external grants or external funding opportunities. So if you have a grant or external funds that is supporting your learning event, you want to identify the name of that funder, and you want to indicate their level, whether they're local, state, national, or international, and you want to indicate the amount. In the case of learning events, it's also important to talk about in-kind support. So if a particular group provided the room free of charge to you, but they took on the price of the room, or they might have provided lunch and so on, you want to record that also and be sure in the description that you put in kind and describe what that was. There are some things that people are reporting in grants and external funding that should not be there. First of all, any internal funding is not included here. So if you have a county budget that you're using to pay for your learning event, or you're pulling from the 310 account and so on, none of that should be reported here in the external events or external funding. If you have an IBAT or any other Purdue Extension funds, these are not recorded here under the grants and external funding. And finally, there's one more thing we're seeing, and what participants are doing as their educators and specialists are doing as they're reporting on their events. Some are using this space to indicate when the attendees or the participants pay a fee for participating in the course. We do not want to see the fee that the individuals are paying. That is not what we're looking for on grants and funding, external funding. There are a couple other unique situations that I want to explain that relate to funding. Often when there are large grants, there's a principal investigator or a project director, and they are the one that gets the money. And as a result of their work and their effort, there might be a curriculum development or a workshop that's developed, and maybe you're the one implementing or delivering some of that work. Do you report that? Well, yes, you report that you've done the learning event, but if the money didn't come to you and your county or your program, you would not identify that as external funds. Really, the money went to the PI or that project director. So you don't put that you have external funds if you're part of a larger group like this. Another situation is timing. A lot of people ask, well, when do I record my grant? Well, you report the grant when you report your event. So if, let's say, you get the grant awarded in December, but the first time you offer your program that it's supported is in February. So in February, when you have your learning event happen and you go into Digital Measures to report it, that's when you talk about your grant. That's when you document that the grant supported that particular event that happened in February. So the date that you're awarded the grant doesn't come into play as we're talking about our reporting in Digital Measures. And then finally, one more thing that comes up a lot when we talk about external funds or grant funds. And this is actually a change, and we've just learned this in the last couple of years as we've looked at how people are reporting. If you apply the funds that you have to more than one event, you can report that fund each time, or that grant each time that you report it in Digital Measures. So let's take this example. We got the grant in December. Our first event was February. So we put that into our learning events, recorded that, put the grant information, put the dollar amount. And then we also offered that same program again in March. So we went in Digital Measures in March and we documented that program, and we again indicated that that particular program was supported by that grant. In the past, and when we started Digital Measures, we asked you not to do that because it looked like it would multiply our values. But as it turns out, it's quite easy for us to identify these sorts of things. So anytime you have a program or workshop that you're offering and you have it documented in Digital Measures, you may indicate the grant that supports it, whether it's one event or multiple events. So that's a quick overview of external partners and external funding, just to remind you that we have resources available to help you as you're reporting in Digital Measures. We have instruction documents that have been embedded on the screens. We have help tips, which are the question mark located by each field in Digital Measures with their pop-up windows with more information. We have everything documented on the intranet under metrics. And of course, there's DM help at lists.purdue.edu is the email that you can use if you have a question. All right, at this time, I'm going to change my screens and go into Digital Measures just to walk through this. So give me 1 second while I make this change. Okay, here we are in Digital Measures. We've logged in, we've selected the learning event screen. I'm at the top of this as if I'm entering a new learning event. I want to remind you that here you can click on instructions. It's a PDF document that opens up and it gives you instructions step by step with screenshots of every part of this data entry screen. So please refer to that. You also have the help tips here, the question mark identified next to each item. If you click on that, a pop-up window shows to give you more information about how to fill it out. So let me scroll down to the section that we've been talking about today, which is external partners. So here we are. So let's say we're filling out our event. We've had our event and now we're identifying the partners. So I typed in the name of my partner that was part of my process. Then I want to take a look at the category and I make sure I select the category that most closely represents that group. If I have additional ones, I can use the add button here. If we're talking about grants and sponsorships, again, I'm typing in the name of the source. So I'm putting the bank's name here in this particular case. I pick the category that agency or group fits in, and this one is a bank. I indicate the level and the amount. And then if there's more description needed here, if this happens to be an in-kind event, I want to make sure I mark that. If I have multiple funders for this learning event, then I can use the add button and I can add more. This ends the information I was going to share about how to report in Digital Measures. I will now open up the line for questions and comments that you might have. You may chat in the chat box and we'll look there, or you can unmute your line and ask your question. At this time, I'm not seeing any questions or comments. I'll wait a couple more minutes and be on the line. But I hope that you have a great day, and I've enjoyed having you join me today. Thank you.